you went through your questions, and they're like, okay, you should have them take you to the panel at that point?
Yeah. I mean, in that situation, he was having issues with his heat pump, and so, on the way there, I said, well, obviously we're looking at the panel, right? Like it says right here, there's a breaker buzzing, or I think it was a bad breaker. That's the HVAC tech knew or thought. So I had him take me straight to the panel, and then had him take me to his AC unit. And it was a tricky one because it's such an isolated spot. Like I don't get to walk around the house and look at everything. I'm looking at a panel, I'm looking at a disconnect, and a heat pump that I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Right.
But I instantly took the panel cover off, looked at the breaker that the HVAC tech had turned off just because he thought it was an issue.
Real quick, when you open that panel, what the homeowner's with you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, what do you say? Does he have anything you say as you open the panel, or do you have any kind of, some guys have a certain kind of, pizzazz when they do it?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, but usually it's like an excited, wow. Like, how long has this been here? Usually the response I get, why? Is it bad? Well, it's not good.
Yeah.
Why? And so now the conversation is switched from, and this is what I did with this guy. The conversation switched from the breaker to just the condition of his panel, how the condition of their panel can affect the breakers in your panel. His was buzzing as I took the breaker off. This is one of those situations where I knew something was wrong, but it was really hard to justify a diagnostic. Right. I didn't feel good about it, so I took the breaker off, showed him it's burning, it's buzzing. This is your problem. I can fix just the breaker, or we can fix it long-term and fix everything right. It was fortunate enough for my situation. He'd lived there for 45 years. He built the house. So he had a lot of pride in it. He had a lot of investment in it. Mm-hmm. So it was really easy to explain and create the urgency that he had some issues in his house that were going to cause him some bigger problems long-term if they weren't fixed right away.
Do you, at that point, go ahead and kind of give him options on replacing the breaker, doing the whole panel, or and obviously that ticket opened up a whole lot later on, but do you give him options for that right there at that point?
If he asks, and he did, he goes, well, what do you suggest? And I go, well, in this situation, it's perfect. Like you got to replace this panel, right? Like plain and simple. It's just what it comes down to. He had two panels, and he goes, well, how do we do that? And so I explained to him the process. We scheduled disconnect and yada yada yada. So, but you've got a couple different options as far as a panel replacement goes. You can do a basic 1960s technology panel, which is what you've got. Breakers that were invented, 80 years ago that don't work very awesome, which is why you're having the problems you're having now. Or you can install what the industry standard is now. And this is where I kind of start guiding them into a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And it's something I've really been working on the last 5 or 6 months, but I tend to tell people in situations like yours, every one of my clients that I deal with goes with this other option. They all like the new industry standard. And I started explaining what a fire guard breaker is or an arc fault.
Well, please go ahead and do it. Let's see the special sauce.
Okay. So, it's well, you've got a couple options. We can do a basic 1960s technology panel, which is an awesome option. It's safer than what you currently have, but there's other options you can do. Most everyone that I deal with in a situation like yours always goes with what we call fire guard technology. It's the industry standard. It's where things are going now. It's super safe. It's going to tell you if you've got any sort of pre-existing conditions in your system. If you've got loose connections, if you've got arcing and sparking that's going on, these breakers are going to tell you. Whereas the breakers you currently have, you'll never know. It's kind of nice because you're playing ignorance is bliss, and it's pretty cool. And then I go put in a brand new breaker, and you're going to go, what the heck, dude? This doesn't work for my house. It's actually an awesome thing. But it can be a nuisance sometimes because it's going to trip if you've got loose connections. Luckily for you, though, I've got this tool in my truck. I can go check every plug and switch in your house and tell you if you got loose connections. At least at that point, it's going to give you a better idea of if you install these fire guard breakers, if you're going to have any issues. But if we do see that you're going to have some issues, I got to fix that too. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
So was he ready to replace both?
Oh yeah, that was lights out. It was done.